Welcome back to my channel for a short Hasselblad episode. And the title of this video says The Good and the Ugly. So what I want to talk about in this video is how to set up and in a meaningful way use, of course, custom profiles in the Hasselblad X2D Mark II and use them for your benefit to quicker change between different sets of settings and parameters. And that is the good news, that you can actually do that, and I'm walking you through in detail in the course of the video. The ugly or the bad news is that these custom profiles will be wiped out and erased if you reset the camera, so you cannot export them in the same way as you can do it, for instance, on the Leica SL3 to the compact flash Express Type B card and then reload them after a reset. And that is, in my opinion, a real flaw. And Hasselblad, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you won't, but if, listen to me, and in a future firmware update, please make a function available which allows us to export custom profiles to the compact flash Express Type B card. And now let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so, subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. Many thanks for that. All right, custom profiles. And I have here currently mounted the XCD28P, but I will leave the lens cap on so you see better what's going on when I'm operating here the menu system. And just as a side remark, because I get these questions frequently, yes, the XCD28P is fully compatible with the Hasselblad X2D Mark II, and you have continuous autofocus available. I can quickly show you that, by the way, in the course of the side remarks. So if I push here, you see AFS, but here AFC is not grayed out like in older XCD lenses. I can select it. I can also here choose human subject detection. And you see this is all taken over by the camera and works perfectly fine. So yes, the XCD28P is fully compatible with all features, all functions, which are incorporated in the Hasselblad X2D Mark II. And by the way, is a perfect street photography setup. In terms of form, size, and shape, weight, is really a compact setup here on the Hasselblad X2D Mark II and works like a charm. Let me go back here to the settings I have in mind for my demonstration. Let's switch this off here. And now custom profiles, what are they actually and why are they meaningful? Well, you will have different shooting situations, and different shooting situations with that camera lens combination will dictate different sets of parameters. For instance, if you want to shoot the camera on a tripod, you very likely want to use a self-timer and probably the base or native ISO, which is an ISO of 50 if you go for long exposures for the cleanest signal from the sensor. Or if you shoot people, you very likely want to go here for AFC, and you will very likely here go for human subject detection. And that is a setting which is different, of course, from the one I just described for your tripod situation. And what you can do now is, for different shooting situations, you can set up and customize all parameters and settings in the camera, and then you can store them in a custom profile. And you find them here under General, and then you have Custom Profiles, and you see we have 5 of them available. And if I tap on one of them, let's say Profile 3, nothing is stored here at this point in time. I always get 2 choices here. One is to save the current set of parameters and settings of the camera into this profile, or if a setup is already stored in Profile 3, I can load it into the camera and all my parameters will immediately be populated by the settings and parameters I have stored under profile number 3. So I think it's pretty clear what this function is doing, and I will give you now 2 examples how it is working and how you can use it in a meaningful way. So let's start with a use case and let's apply the one I just mentioned, namely shooting landscape, including long exposures on a tripod. And I want to have this in custom profile number 2. And what do I do here? Well, first of all, I go here to ISO. And I want to shoot on a tripod, in particular for long exposures with the base or native ISO of the camera, which is an ISO of 50. So this is chosen now. I will definitely not shoot on a tripod with AFC. So I go to AF single And I also want to have subject detection off because we talk here about landscape photography. For landscape, I will very likely not go for the widest open aperture of this XCD28P, which is an f4, but I want to shoot, let's say, at an f8. So let's here go to an f8. And what I also want to do is I want to shoot with fully manual mode. So we go here to exposure mode and go to M. And then, you know, I have almost everything I need. What I, of course, need to adjust live in the shooting situations on the tripod is my shutter speed, because that depends now on the available light I have in the landscape scene in front of the camera. And let's say this is a setting I want to use. I also want to here in the drive mode go to a self timer. And I think 5 seconds here is just fine. It's about 1 frame that I want to shoot. I want to have a low sound. The LED should blink. And when finished, I want to stay in the self timer mode, because I will very likely shoot several exposures all on a tripod, all with self timer. And let me now show you how to store this in the custom profile. Of course, I will ignore all other parameters and settings on the camera for the time being, because this is an illustration and not a fully fledged tutorial on customization, which you already find on my channel. So let's go here into the menu. Let's go to General. Let's go to Custom Profiles. And let's store this in custom profile number 2. Let's say save. I can confirm this here. By the way, previous settings will be overwritten, so whatever you store in a custom profile will be your definite set of parameters. Everything that's stored before will be overwritten. So let's push save. And then it says profile saved, save to profile 2. Good. I think that's a very good first step. So we have a custom profile for tripod shooting, longer exposures, very likely in the blue hour, with settings that make sense. And all the other settings are ignored for the time being. Otherwise, this video will be another fully fledged tutorial on customization, which we already have on the channel. At the beginning, I said I will do 2 use cases, but I think it's more complete if I do 3. So the next use case will be standard shooting, no people photography, no animal photography. Let's say I'm hiking with my camera, want to shoot landscape, whatever catches my interest, you know, flowers on the way, trees, mountains, the hiking path, whatever it is. And for this, I change now my settings and will store them in profile number 1. And first of all, we stay on autofocus single and no subject detection, but we switch the aperture here to an aperture of f5.6. We'll shoot with auto ISO because I don't care about ISO when I'm hiking at daylight. You know, the camera will figure it out by itself. If the ISO is 400, fine, no problem. There will be no noise. If it is 50 because it's a bright day, is fine, no problem. And I also want to go into aperture priority because I want to manually control my aperture here. And I definitely don't want to have a self timer. So I switch this off and go here to single frame. And what else do we want to do? Well, let's go into the settings here to quality. Let's say I want to activate or deactivate HDR. What do you think for this single shooting situation? Maybe I should keep it here for the time being, but I could deactivate it, and so on and so on. And in this way, I have now a different set of parameters for my camera, which I want to store now in profile number 1. So we go again here to General. And in general, we go to custom profiles. We go to profile number 1. We save it. We say save and confirm. And it says save to profile number 1. So now we have already populated profile number 1 and profile number 2. And for profile number 3, which is one more than I promised, let's now go for people photography. And here we also change a few settings. Here I want to go for autofocus continuous. I want to go for human subject detection here. I want to have the aperture widest open on that lens, which is an f4.0. And auto ISO is fine. And here I want to deactivate the HDR function under quality. So let's switch this off. And I think that's kind of it, right? I want to stay in aperture priority because the camera should figure out by itself the correct sensitivity, the ISO value, and of course the shutter speed. Or maybe, well, why don't we make this manual too and go for a shutter speed that is fast enough so that if human beings are moving, we can freeze them. So let's go here to 1/200 seconds. maybe that's the way we should do it. And here, actually, I want to be on spot. So we have also changed here a setting in the metering section of the control screen. Let's now go into profiles again. Custom profiles, let's store them under profile number 3, save, confirm, deal done. All right, we have now 3 custom profiles set up with high speed, of course, because this is an illustration, demonstration, a tutorial. I've not touched other settings in the camera, but it's enough what I touched to show you how it works if we now switch between different custom profiles, which is the next step I want to show you. All right, so I switched the camera off, and of course these custom profiles are stored in the internal memory of the camera. There is a dedicated section. You will not see them as a file, and I come back to this point on the internal SSD, which has a capacity of about 1 terabyte. You will not find a custom profile file or data file on the Compact Flash Express Type B card, which, as I said, I will come back to this in a moment. So the camera is switched off. I was hopping in the car and driving to a shooting location in the Swiss mountains. I have mounted my camera on a tripod and I switch it on. And you see the camera is booting up, all fine. And I see these are not the settings I want to have on a tripod. But luckily, I stored all essential settings for my tripod shooting in profile number 2. So we go here into General and to Custom Profiles, and I go to profile number 2, and now I say Load. And you see this is flashing once, and if I go now here in the camera menu, you see all of a sudden it's switched from AFC to AFS. I have no human subject detection. It switched to F8. It switched to base ISO of 50. I said before when I set this up, shutter speed, I have to control myself. I'm on a self timer with 5 seconds and I'm in fully manual mode. And this is exactly the set of parameters I stored in profile number 2 for long exposure shooting in landscape photography on a tripod. And you see how easy this is because you don't overlook something. And I'm an experienced photographer. I do this for many years, but even I have situations where I place the camera on a tripod and I'm excited to get my shooting done of a blue hour shooting of a city. And I forgot at the first frame to switch on the self timer, for instance. Here, I have no burden to think about what I'm doing. I just choose in the custom profiles, profile number 2, because I know that's my tripod setting and I'm good to go for my shooting with all the parameters I stored in here. Simple like that. Situation number 2, the next day I'm meeting with my photo model Stephanie and I want to do a people shooting, want to demonstrate that this 28mm XCD lens also is really good for shooting human beings. And I switch my camera on and see I'm in the tripod setting. No problem. We go back into the custom profiles and Stephanie is already waiting. We go to profile number 3. I load it. And this is the profile I set up for people photography. And voila, when I'm going into the menu, it's on autofocus continuous. It's widest open for this particular lens, which is an f4. I have human subject detection on. I have 1/200 seconds shutter speed. So if Stephanie moves a little bit, it will very likely freeze her movement. We are on auto ISO. I'm on spot, which is what I set up before for this profile. And we are in fully manual mode. And that's it. And you see how easy this is. Just a tap into the profile section and I'm good to go as long, and I come back to this, as long as I remember what I stored in these profiles. And this is one of 2 points I want to call out. And as I said before, hopefully Hasselblad is watching this video and listening to what I have to say here. Now, the last situation, as simple. I just want to do a little bit of photography on a hiking path in the mountains. And I want to switch profile again. I go here back into General, Custom Profiles, choose my profile number 1. I load it. Good to go. Go into the control screen and voila, I'm now at 5.6. This is what I set up before. Auto ISO. I'm in aperture priority and I have no subject detection activated here. So also here this profile was stored and preserved, in this case in profile number 1. So you get it. You see how this works. Now, of course, you need to invest the effort once now to set up your camera and to also think along your workflow, right? And maybe you want to follow my example that you distinguish, for instance, between landscape photography, between people photography, photography on a tripod, you know, maybe photography with third-party lenses and adapters, where for sure you need here underexposure to activate the electronic shutter and store this in a profile number 4, for instance. And then if you mount a third-party adapter and a third-party lens, you will no longer be shocked when the warning appears here that you cannot shoot because electronic shutter is already activated, and so on and so on. So what are now the two flaws? Why did I call this video The Good and the Ugly? Well, I indicated it already at the very beginning. We cannot store custom profiles on the Compact Flash Express Type B card, and that is a problem. So let me show you. If we go back into the screen here and we go to custom profiles, I have these 5 choices, and the only 2 options if I tap on a profile is load or save. Nothing else I can do. And in the Leica world, this is differently solved for all Leica cameras except the Deluxe 8. Let me quickly show you. And this is the way Hasselblad should have implemented this. Because if you go here in the menu to user profiles, and we come to it here, then I see here there is a section that's called Manage Profiles, and that's exactly missing here in the Hasselblad menu. And under Manage Profiles, you can save a profile, rename a profile, which is my second point, delete it, export it to the Compact Flash Express Type B card, or if you have an exported profile file, you can import it. And this section here, Manage Profiles, that is missing in the Hasselblad world. And I think it would be so easy to implement it. And the second point I want to call out again, Hasselblad, listen to what I have to say here. And I'm a big customer of Hasselblad. If you look here, I have a lot of lenses. I have 2 camera bodies here. I have older camera bodies. I have Hasselblad 500 series cameras in the medium format. And I have a lot of videos about Hasselblad gear on my channel. So maybe once in a while, Hasselblad as a company will hopefully buy into having interest in my channel and me and what I have to say. At this point in time, it doesn't look that way. But the second point I want to call out is, why can we not rename these profiles? I mean, in my case now with 3 profiles, all right, this is the standard shooting profile. This is shooting long exposures on a tripod with base and native ISO. And this is people photography. Of course, I'm not dumb. I can remember that and store it in my brain. But if you have 5 profiles, well, let's say this is the one with electronic shutter and this is another one, I might still be able to remember it. But would it not be easy from a software side to implement, like we have it here on the Leica side, when I go into Manage Profiles, to rename profiles? And then I can call it, for instance, Standard, Tripod, and People. And this would look so much better if instead of here profile 1, 2, and 3, it would actually say here after renaming in a Manage Profiles section in the menu, Standard, Tripod, and People. And I think these 2 points, and correct me if you're watching this and you have a different opinion, but I think these 2 options being implemented in the next firmware update of the Hasselblad X2D Mark II, given the complexity of the camera and all the functions and features we have anyway, should not be a big case. You know, it should not take overly long to do that. And I think it should be easy for Hasselblad to implement it. So I hope they do it, because that would make this function almost ingenious. So if I had here an export function like I have it on the Leica SL3, then I could export everything I set up here on this camera body to the Compact Flash Express Type B card. I could take the card out, insert it in my second camera body, import the custom profiles, and have everything what I set up on one camera body already on a second camera body without working and without any effort and investment of time. And that would be super convenient. What it also would help me to do is, if I ever have to reset the camera and everything is wiped out, and that's actually what's happening to the custom profiles, because they are stored internally somewhere in a section in the memory of the camera. If you reset the camera, they will be wiped out, they will be gone, and all the work we invested, and I only did illustrative work here, is destroyed. And that's why I think an export function a lot of people would appreciate. A renaming function for me is second priority, but would make this function more nice, handy, and convenient. And as I said, hopefully in a future firmware update, we will see this function as it is implemented in the Leica SL3 in a very elegant way. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.